The assignments are coming in faster than we can complete them. Each day a realm remains without closure, more of those things are lured to the island. I've sent letters to a few of the settlements for help. If we don't start working together soon, I'm worried things are going to get very dark around here. We're closed.
Or are you? I'm on my last legs, Detective. I've gone through so many pairs of legs and they've walked me as far as they can go. It's this case. It keeps me up at night.
You're real good at picking up hints, ain't you?
I just can't take it anymore. Please, mister, I'll do anything.
Is that so, Blondie? So then, what's in the letter sweater, Dollface?
It's an assignment to retire a Shadows of Doubt profile, but there's a catch. You're not allowed to break the law or do anything violent under any circumstances. Oh, and if you die, your save file gets deleted.
I guess I could look into that for you, but this assignment calls for a very large city and a very long game length, so it won't come cheap.
What's it gonna take?
Well, the sewer could really use a good scrub, and the chimney hasn't been cleaned in a while either. There's also that strange sound emanating from space lately. Oh, and just like that, she was gone. I always had a weak spot for a desperate tomato, and I knew she could smell it all over me. Little did I know just how deep the rabbit hole was about to take me. Well, if it ain't the city of pacifist lawyer. I remember when I transferred here thinking I'd fit in like a sardine in a can of sardines, not realizing the name was nothing more than a cruel parody of its true nature. The fetid scent of hypocrisy is baked into every stinking fiber of this place. Life here revolves around Big Brother's brownie points, and if I can get my mitts on enough state cred tokens, I can retire to a life in the fields, which I don't know nothing about, but it's gotta be better than this place. Anything's gotta be better than this place, even if it ends up just being a Soylent Green situation. As for right now, I'm dead broke. Broker than a toilet in a filthy backwater diner when you've just had the cheesy taco special with extra cheese. I can't even wrangle side jobs since I ain't got the cabbage for the shutter box and the wrist whisperers required to crack them. There's bits and bobs laying all over the city, like you'd expect to find when the world's girthiest dump truck smokes the city's Philharmonic Orchestra. But I can never be 100% sure when we pawn something I find that it isn't some bird's sentimental keepsake. So instead, we exploit the inherent nature of the free market by pestering townsfolk to cough up charitable donations to kickstart our operation. The tedious process of begging my way into a pair of Liberty leashes, one crow at a time, is rudely interrupted when a dame in a white coat administers a cranium crunch to some unsuspecting stranger. Thinking fast, I smooth-talk my way into complimenting her handiwork, knowing I still ain't got enough scratch for the tools to bring her to justice. She offers me her fingerprints as if she didn't just spill this bloke's brains all over the rain-soaked street. Naturally, I follow the callously indifferent perpetrator to her hole at the Walter Suites Hotel, but for now, my hands are constrained by my lack of hand constraints. I'll just have to content myself with probing the victim, known on the street as Abina Bob. The unconcerned killer left the hammer with their scummy prints all over it at the scene, at least simplifying that part of the process. As we wander the streets contemplating our next gambit, an angel flew through the sky, clearly a blessing for our pacifist mission.
What the fuck?
After some more panhandling, I finally got my greasers on some metal mitt muffles and sauntered back to the suspect's apartment. Forcing entry would obviously be against the law. In fact, being there at all without permission is going to count as trespass, even if they leave the door wide open. Just as I started to worry that I wouldn't be getting any opportunity to bring this fiend to justice today, she foolishly turned her back to me when her partner started hounding about a milk mystery. The Houdini halters glide effortlessly onto her wrist, and I take off down the hall as the cranky cow cream criminal launches into a frenzy and gives chase. After pulling off the caper and turning in the resolution form, we are graced with a healthy dose of crows, officially ending our brief stint as a homeless voyeur. Having gotten to the bottom of one murder, I've already taken one big step into the big dirty puddle of this city, but waiting around for another cretin to get clipped ain't gonna cut it for our time-sensitive retirement plans. Like any old fish, you circled one too many loops around this old sewage swamp. swamp, I dive right back into sideshow schemes to keep swimming towards those twilight reefs. First assignment is to trail a retail owner, whose partner is a machinist. As fortune would have it, we also know which building and floor they're roosting in, which means that asking permission to enter the apartments, matching the description, leads us to quickly identify one Callie Harrington by eyeing the cellulose slabs they've left lying around the digs. Filthy animals that they are. The rogue retailer faces justice when they turn their back to me at the fridge. This will be her last beef with privately owned law enforcement. But not all jobs is feasible within a certain time frame, especially with the limitations of our law-abiding nature. Like a dame you meet in a bar at 2 a.m. on a Wednesday, this next job only provides me with 7 destiny digits, leaving me with few options since I can't tap a routing box without trespassing and pick and lock. Oh my god. I try a different job, which only gives me a finger smudge and the building they might live in. I canvass every mailbox without a single match and decide to take my solicitations door to door. After spending an hour rubbing my eyeballs over every knob and handle in the entire building without finding so much as a mote of our mark, I say my farewells to yet another task. My prodigal start may have been more luck than I had originally hoped. This time I snag a much easier task. This time searching for the office manager of Eleganza Systems, a known tech jockey den in the district. I make my way to their offices, but find them closed. So instead of smashing the window and crawling in like some cracked-out gumshoe looking to earn a face-to-face with old Sparky, I wait outside for a very long time, until my teeth were measuring inches and the cats start trickling in. We find the manager, but have a hard time getting behind them with a wrist wrap. So we wait for the end of the shift, and almost get ourselves in trouble since the employees instantly become very unfriendly at closing time.
Oh, no, there's no reason to...
I skulk around outside until they forget my trespass, and follow them to the Tinkle Temple, where we land another successful bounty, capturing Ellie and Caslo as they make their way from the Democratic Doo-Doo Depot. While I was monitoring the drones at Eleganza Systems buzzing about their pointless busywork, the police scanner crackled another reported bump on. I knew my social credit score was still somewhere between a Chinese architect and a Russian Olympian, meaning that getting access to that crime scene was about as likely as finding a fully cooked chicken breast sealed inside a Brazilian watermelon. Man, I'm drained. I could really use some energy right now.
Man, have you tried these Gamer Supps? They're delicious.
No, I'm not in the mood for a supplement. Wait, did you say soup? Please tell me you did not make a soup out of a powdered energy drink.
No, of course not. Gamer Supps make Gamer Soups now. It's instant noodles and very good. You should try some.
Dang, that is really good. I am literally eating and enjoying this right now. And if you like eating delicious instant noodles, you can use our link at gamersupps.gg/Praximus to get some Gamer Soups for yourself at 10% off and support the channel while doing so. They sell all kinds of extremely socially acceptable merchandise, as well as high-quality, healthy supplements and energy rejuvenators. But honestly, I'm just an instant noodles guy. You better believe that ramen is the fuel that gets these videos pushed out.
Delicious. Anyway, back to work for me.
Struggling to cope with the Atlassian burden on my conscience, I attempt to squeeze some clue blood from the murder stone of our outstanding arrest gigs, but only end up generating even more loose ends than the frayed edges of Grandma's ragged old rug. The diner's bulletin board whispers empty promises to me as I draw near to look for more cooperative assignments, but all I see are tasks that require breaking the law or provide even less information about the intended target. As if the angel from the other day was correcting our misinformed optimism, we took a spill on our way out of the diner. While nursing my delicate swollen rump, a file comes across my desk with some real potential. All I need to do is photograph some Joe's mug and slip it under some other Joe's apartment door. Their work address and a few other minor details are provided, which would normally be enough to ensure that I get the job done faster than an Alabama Rottweiler catches a butterfly stealing macaroni. Like scrambling cockroaches when you open the pantry door, the more I combed through the building's offices, the less potential matches showed up. I even checked the basement for illegal businesses, but no dice. Based on the penalty for wrong submissions, I could game the system by shooting each of the remaining suspects until we hit the right one, and come away with a pretty penny. The first photo slipped under the door easier than a mousetrap catching an 8-legged hot dog, and I wasn't surprised when it came back rejected. But this is a process of elimination, and the numbers are in our favor. I go to slide the next photo under, and it won't go. Turns out, the quest giver has a short fuse and a pet peeve for photographs of anyone who isn't his celebrity crush, and refuses to take any more submissions. My get-rich-quick scheme quickly ends up just another costly mistake. All that jacking around, and I still had no chance of progressing the murder case. A constant thought eroding my optimism and patience like a botched hair implant while I looked up even more doomed side jobs. A bulletin called for the arrest of an average-height person with the initial N, working in the Nilsson View. I knew of only one potential match at that address, a gal named Nadia, but she's too good at basketball to be our target. I spent some quality time sitting on a park bench, waiting for businesses to open for the day so that I could resume snooping. Before long, my homeostatic impulses urged me to pop into the nearest dive to grab some grub. However, their patience for law-abiding citizens is directly proportional to their stench, and they soon kick me out for loitering. My soggy doldrums are rudely interrupted by another murder. Another stiff in the same flat as the last hit. Looks like someone's trying to turn this place into a rental bargain bin. Rushing up the stairs to the floor with the award for fastest turnaround times, I pass many people going the opposite way, making sure to make note of every face. In particular, I note several memorable names along the way, including a Lu Min Chang, Ishal Zuri, and one Rico English. Like a maximum security clown car of villainy, every one of these cats looking as guilty as the last. Knowing I wouldn't be permitted inside anyway, this is the first time I've bothered to take a look at either of these crime scenes. Based on the markings on the ground, it was clear we were dealing with some kind of cultist. But I know that the ritual murderers normally leave a note, and there ain't nothing like that as far as I can see. Apparently our cultist is a member of Greenpeace and won't get caught dead littering. I slipped away shortly after I arrived, knowing that without permission to enter, there's little else for me to do until we please Big Brother enough to get a rubbernecker license. The time I killed poking my nose into the sweets of slaughter at least means that the local outfits have opened for the day. It only takes me a few minutes to find Naira, a perfect match for our current bounty. I slapped the hand huggers on her right where I found her. Looky here, she was the intended recipient all along.
We did it! We got her!
My next job takes me to the Go Checkout, a local supermarket whose newspapers are always a day behind and the produce is never quite the right color. Somebody employed here is late having their yearbook photo taken, but I can't seem to track them down. I have a feeling this one won't be easy, but I'm determined to see it through since I know it's only a matter of time before I snap their ugly mug. Third murder comes in over the scanner while I gawk at the aging vegetables, and we head to Kozlowski's View in search of our prolific predator. I immediately encounter Lu Min Chang leaving the area, who you may recall from the previous crime scene. I decide to follow her, going on a very strange path through the basement and into the streets. She even calls me out for tailing her, but I expertly maintain the pursuit despite her alerted state. She suspiciously slinks from her own building to use the can in the hotel next door basement. Once they finally return home, I am stupefied to discover that Lu Min Chang lived in 601 Nilsson View all along. She is the roommate of the first victim. A crumpled note literally materializes in front of my face while I'm still recovering from the shock. Despite knowing that it is almost certainly Lu Min Chang who is responsible, the solution to the anagram is tantalizingly evasive of my mental grasp.
It's first name A, last name... What the fuck?
A knock on the door. I ask Lu Min to let us come in and look around. She hesitates, voicing concerns about us soiling the place despite having already covered it in blood and ritual markings when she ventilated her roommate and left him composting in the doorway. The victim had been recording notes in their diary about a stalker. Tall, skinny, long black hair. The victim didn't seem to notice that their own roommate fit the profile perfectly.
Oh my god. Skinny, tall, long.
Classic case of willful ignorance. Lou follows me around, turning lights back off and slamming doors in my face until she eventually gets tired of failing to intimidate me and goes to sleep, giving me the opportunity to find the rifle she left laying carelessly under a desk. I tuck Lou into bed with some wrist grip. Sleeping Beauty doesn't put up much resistance and confesses without me even putting the screws to her. The case doesn't give me credit
Hell
for
yeah.
evidence that they were at the crime scene, despite the fact that it was literally their house. Typical bureaucratic corruption. Feeling luckier than a Neptunian pineapple disco dancing and roller skates, I revisited the Go Checkout, only to find that my luck had already run out. That is, until we got permission to use their computer and identified the mark as Miriam Zimmerman. The clerk, exemplifying exceptional customer service, finally tells us she's likely at the Walter Suites Hotel. I harass every geriatric I see on the way there, but none of them are her. The check-in champ says he recognizes her, and that she lives in Sweeney Heights, so I start knocking on doors there. Like a cruise ship riding a circus carousel high on methamphetamine, the apartment building has too many doors for me to cover. I decide to wait until a more direct approach reveals itself. I kill some time attending to a different target in the Fathom Zone. It's as easy as asking permission to enter, eyeing the wallet left carelessly on the counter, confirming the identity as Joanna Dominguez, and then slapping on the cup. This person was almost never home, so it was satisfying to finally nab them after so much waiting. A single ray of sunshine in this bleak backwater. I hear a murder scan for 301 Coffee House and head straight there. This time, the roommate gives us permission to investigate and even provides his own prints. Man has a very messed up eyebrow. We find a toy car and a lipstick heart around the victim, but cannot find a note. A meticulous rummage reveals that the note was cleverly scrawled across the folded curtains. We know that the perpetrator has DS fingerprints and has the first name probably starting with an S.
Ellen and what? Look like an S, maybe?
But the only matching name in the victim's contact book is someone named Shong. Diary says average height and build with long hair, so we begin our search. We trek to the address of this elusive Shong, only to find their apartment nestled deep in the Echelon Zone, a place off limits to us mere mortals.
Shit.
It's like trying to crash a party for entrepreneurs in a t-shirt that says, seize the means of production. Looks like this lead just belly flopped into the pool of death spaghetti. We stumble upon a side gig to nab a brawny receptionist with the initial J. Suddenly, we're transformed into relentless salesmen, blitzing through every office in town, pestering receptionists like the spirit of history's most malicious Karen, possessing the body of the world's most prolific career criminal kangaroo. Finally, we lock eyes with Joshua McDonald, a perfect match for our description, and he ends up with some snazzy new wrist accessories quicker than you can say Arrested Development. Shortly after our visit with Joshua, we finally track down Miriam's hideout and head to her hotel room. In a brilliant display of clumsiness, a stool accidentally slips from my hands and clocks her. She chases us into the hallway, which is a bit of an overreaction if you ask me. Eventually, she runs out of breath, and we capitalize on her lackluster cardio to slap on the cuffs. Then I remember.
Oh my god, wait a minute.
We were supposed to photograph her, not handcuff her. Oops. So, I snap a few photos of her and leave her handcuffed naked in the hallway. Turning in the side job, I feel oddly satisfied with my sense of civic duty. Our self-congratulatory moment is cut short by the worst kind of multitasking. A simultaneous murder report for 402 Sweeney Heights and also the Basement 2 apartment of Coffee House. Talk about a mood killer. We sprint to the basement first, arriving just in time to watch the cops bust down the door. It's another romantic murder, complete with a sappy note, Ania plus S forever. Ah, love. Nothing says forever like a homicide. Then we hightail it to the Sweeney Heights, only to be stonewalled by the boys in blue. They won't let us in, blocking our chance to get the inside scoop. Just our luck, like trying to get an exclusive interview with a brick wall. Then there's another call, this time for a murder at 303 Walter Suites Hotel, suggesting we've got a prolific purloiner on our hands. When we get there, it's like a fire drill on steroids, with people stampeding into the hotel, too many to inspect them all. We head upstairs and spot the murder victim through an open door, with a neighbor standing nearby. Figuring they had a front row seat to the carnage, we start chatting and learn their name is Saban Clark. Out of nowhere, Saban slams the door and bolts down the hall. Reflexively, we slap on the detention decorations. The victim's neighbors, exhibiting top-notch critical thinking, seem more offended by our handcuffs than Saban's 6 murders. They chase us away, but leave her cuffed, just to play it safe, I suppose. After the dust settles, we return to interrogate Saban. She consents to a search, and what do we find? Not just her address, but a sword and a bat with her prints all over them. Apparently, she's Miriam Zimmerman's co-worker and part-time medieval knight. Saban even hands over her fingerprints with a smile, keeping up the trend of suspiciously courteous criminals, especially compared to the average Joes around here. We peek into the crime scene, only for the roommate to attack us like a caffeinated squirrel, suspiciously chill about Saban cuffed in the hallway. We can't find any of Saban's prints in the entryway, so we play Detective Twister, stretching out into the room to examine the body. Turns out, the victim was sliced and diced, ruling out the bat. Saban surprisingly lets us scan the sword for prints, so we do, and then as a reward for being such a good sport, we hand the murder weapon back to her just like it's some kind of twisted participation trophy. If she had have just left the sword in the apartment, I wouldn't have been able to tie her to the scene. But, lucky for us in our paperwork, She didn't think that far ahead. We hand in the completed form, pat ourselves on the back, and wrap up the case, feeling like the world's most competent detectives. With the Siobhan Clark case closed, I've finally accumulated enough charm points on the likability ledgers to snag permission for crime scene inspections. Now, we can swagger around like we own the joint, though we still hustle odd jobs to meet our impending retirement deadline. Juana Dominguez reappears on our radar like a recurring nightmare, but once again, she's nowhere to be found. It's almost as if she has a sixth sense for dodging us, or perhaps she just has better things to do. Either way, it's another day in the thrilling life of detective, balancing paperwork and oddball gigs. A fresh murder case at 403 Wilbourn Terrace unfolds like a slapstick noir. We arrive to find the apartment floor under lockdown, so we awkwardly loiter until the Iron Curtain finally lifts. When the barrier unfurls, there are not one but two apartment doors wide open. There lies the victim, sprawled in front of 403, having punched his ticket to the great beyond with a one-way revolver ride, while two hapless police officers gawk cluelessly, probably wondering if they left their donuts in the car. A quick sweep of the room uncovers EG-type fingerprints that clearly don't belong to any of the residents. Meanwhile, the victim's journal entries hint at a stalker, a towering, long-haired woman of average build, who seems to have a knack for making sure her targets meet their maker. Scrawled on the wall is a grim bulletin with a chilling message: death to the new generation. A sign of an irate attacker, possibly of a more seasoned vintage. The last known caller remains unreachable, leaving us with just the ominous note and those perplexing fingerprints as our only leads. First, we eliminate the victim's co-workers at the Snake Cafe from our suspect list. And next, I move my investigation to the neighbor's apartment, where we discover the suspected perpetrator's fingerprints. However, the owner of these prints doesn't fit the description of the stalker at all, and it seems like either a bizarre coincidence or just a nosy neighbor poking around where they shouldn't be. After questioning the locals, it becomes clear that nobody in the building matches the stalker's description. It's another dead end in our increasingly absurd quest for justice. I spend more time sifting through every single person in the victim's extensive contact book than it would take to knit a sweater for a houseplant using Morse code and spaghetti noodles, all without a single shred of progress to show for it. Eventually, a murder call comes in for 801 Cho Heights while I'm conveniently visiting my good friend, Miriam Zimmerman. I rush there faster than a Chicago heater in heat. As we ascend to the fateful floor, we make a mental note of everyone. Suddenly, we spot somebody literally covered in blood, scowling angrily. True to the absurdity of my detective career, she willingly volunteers her fingerprints, because apparently every murderer I encounter is more polite than a jackdawed hootenanny whistlepop. I boldly accuse her of murder, but she arrogantly turns her nose up and walks away. Little does she know, attacking from behind is my superpower. I pounce, snapping the cuffs on her the moment I see her hand, signaling the end of her bloody reign of terror. Her prints match some I found at 403 Wilbourn Terrace, which reminds me, I forgot my resolution form. When I return, I diplomatically search her wallet and discover the pistol, giving me all the information I need to wrap up the case. We're on the cusp of retirement, waiting for just one more murder to wrap things up. Refusing to conclude this remarkable journey with a mundane side job, I bide my time, hoping the next murderer surfaces soon. But as hours drag by and the city remains strangely peaceful, it looks like I could be waiting indefinitely. Just when it feels like I'll be waiting forever, I stumble upon a truly bizarre sight. This woman is clearly hell-bent on taking down this stranger, but unlike Claudia Moreno, her sword swings are caught in a loop of perpetual near misses. I watch in disbelief as this would-be villain reenacts the torment of Ten Palace, seemingly out of sheer incompetence. This situation sends shivers down my spine as I contemplate the bizarre possibility. If she can't complete the deed, she might be trapped in this endless cycle, condemning us to a murderless eternity. Fear grips me, and in a desperate move I apprehend her, hastily releasing her to break the glitch and restore the natural order. With my retirement secured at the expense of another's fate, I swiftly recuff her and hand her over to the bigwigs, hoping to restore balance to this absurdly twisted scenario. Achieving a full resolution is a breeze since she neatly bundled all the evidence together like a murder-themed bento box. After submitting it, we fill out our retirement paperwork and bequeath our worldly possessions, mostly just heaps of handcuffs and a camera, to Miriam Zimmerman as a token apology for the earlier mix-up. Fortunately, the camera already contains photos of her in her underwear, so I'm sure she'll appreciate the gesture. So, I got that taken care of. Piece of cake as it turned out. We bought ourselves some breathing room. Now we just need to see whether or not help shows up. By the way, how's that cleaning coming?
Oh, yeah, it's going great.